One of the hardest parts about traveling with just a carry-on or even just a personal item that goes under the seat in front of you is that you can only bring a quart-size bag of liquids, which when you start to fill that up, you realize that's not actually that much space. But there is a way to get around it, and it's not any secret trick or hack. It's really, really simple. The TSA requirement for your liquids are no larger than 3.4 ounces or about 100 milliliters. And when you go to the store and just buy travel size containers, this is typically the size that you'll be getting. But the truth is, you probably don't need this much of any product for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a 3-week trip, which means that you can actually take more of the products that you want if you just bring them in smaller containers. So whether you're like me and you're just trying to travel lighter, or you want something smaller to throw in your gym bag, take to work, take to school, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Now, I've already downsized my makeup, which you can watch here. So today I'm gonna be tackling the rest of my toiletries, and I've grabbed a few different things to do so. The first is a deodorant or kind of like chapstick stick, some perfume atomizers, clear spray bottles, some eyedroppers, little lip gloss tubes, airless vacuum pump containers, as well as some small flip cap bottles, and then a couple things that I can use to fill these items like syringes, spatulas, funnels, pipettes, and finally a candle warmer. Now you may be watching this video and thinking, why are you doing this? You can just buy travel size toiletries, and you're right. But I'm not doing that for a couple reasons. The first is that, like I said earlier, these are typically larger than you really need for a 1 week, 2 week, 3 week trip. And I just want to use the products I already like and enjoy. So while some of these do have travel size options, some don't, and it's just more than I need for most of my trips. When you're traveling with just a bag that goes under the seat in front of you, you have to save space wherever it is possible, which for me lately means that I'm not bringing along my camera equipment and I'm just bringing my phone instead. But that also means I can't rely on my camera to take fantastic photos of my trip, which is where the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare, comes in. They have a really big range of classes with things like art and illustration, graphic design, to even stuff like productivity and business. And I've been taking a couple travel photography and iPhone lessons so that I can just go back to the basics and focus on what makes a good photo, no matter what I'm using to take that, whether that's my camera or my phone. I absolutely love the classes from this instructor named Rose, especially this one about travel photography. She breaks it down so nicely into 3 different photos that you should take for every trip, as well as how to capture those, what to look for, and how to edit them. So even though I've been taking photos for over a decade now, I left the class with a new approach to travel photography, as well as just a very easy checklist that I can take on my next trip. So I don't spend my whole trip distracted by taking photos, and I can actually relax and enjoy it too, which my partner is thankful for. So whether you're a seasoned photographer who's just looking to lighten the load, or a beginner who has no idea how to approach documenting your trip, Skillshare has a class that will work for you. Luckily for you, the first 500 people who click the link in my description or scan this QR code will receive a month free trial of Skillshare, so you can literally get started today. The first thing I want to start with is some 70% isopropyl alcohol, because not only am I going to use this on trips to sanitize, for the tray table and things like that, but I also want to use it to sanitize the containers that we're going to be filling in today's video. This was incredibly easy. I just took a funnel, placed it inside my spray bottle, and then I was able to pour the alcohol directly in there. This next item is one of the ones that I am most excited about. We're going to be making some mini deodorant. So I'm just gonna sanitize this bowl, give it a little spritz, let it sit, and then wipe it out. This is a 15 milliliter deodorant container, and it's smaller than you might think. I grabbed my solid sun stick and compared it in size, and it's a little bit smaller than that. So if you've seen one of these before, that should give you a good frame of reference. This is also gonna be significantly smaller than the travel size of this deodorant, which I've bought in the past. Now, I'm sure I could be scientific and measure this somehow, but I'm just gonna eyeball it and hold the container up to the stick and kind of guess how much I think would fit inside. When I was making my travel makeup palette, I realized that a candle warmer is a really easy way to melt cream products and put them into other containers. So I'm just gonna cut this off into this glass bowl and then put this on top of my candle warmer and let it sit for a little bit until it fully melts. I'd say it took about 5 minutes for this to completely melt and turn into a liquid, and then I was able to scoop it in with this spoon side and then slowly pour it in as well before it started to harden. The hardest part about this was kind of making the top nice. I think in the future I might take like a lighter or a hair dryer to just smooth that out. But after pouring it in, I set it to the side so that it could completely harden before I put the lid back on. The only thing I don't like about this container is that the stopper doesn't go all the way to the bottom, and I couldn't find a way to make it go any lower, so I feel like there is some wasted space. If you wanted something even smaller, you could use something like a chapstick tube as well, or even reuse other items like that sunstick container I showed you earlier. I'm just very happy with how small this is compared to any other travel deodorant that I've used in the past. Next up are two much larger containers that I absolutely could not take in a carry-on even if I wanted to. The first is this hairspray, and the second is this Refresh, which is like a hypochlorous acid spray. I have brought this hairspray in the past, and I just put it in a normal travel-sized spray bottle, but as you can see, this is way too big. So I knew that I wanted to put this into one of these much smaller spray containers, and I didn't even need the funnel for this. The container is pretty small, so I was able to pour it directly in there, and it works perfectly. I'm gonna do the same thing with my Refresh spray, just pour it directly into the smaller spray bottle, and you can see just how much smaller they are. I love that I'm still able to take my hairspray and a Refresh spray in my tiny little quart-size container because this just saves so much space, especially compared to the other spray bottle, which is like the standard travel size that I was using before. After using my travel makeup kit for a while, I realized I wanted to make some changes. And the first one I want to do is for my foundation. You can see the bottle is about the same size as a standard travel bottle, and this is the container I was using. However, there's a couple things I didn't like about it. First, I couldn't really tell how much was inside of it, and the product would separate. Plus, it was a little bit difficult to squeeze out the exact amount I wanted. So I'm going to put this into a different container today. I have a few options that I can use. First are those vacuum air pumps. The next one is this little mini lip gloss container. And then if I wanted to go even smaller, I could also use this eye drop. However, for this, I think I'm just gonna use the vacuum pump container. And I got really lucky because my pipette fit inside, so I didn't have to remove the stopper from the foundation as well, and I was able to squeeze it directly into the bottom of this air pump. Now, when you put the pipette inside, you do have to kind of like wiggle it around and squeeze it a little bit to get the foundation to go up in it, but it was easy enough to figure out. Oh, there's my cat. Okay, I'm giving the side just a little bit of a wipe before I put the lid back on, and the final test is to see how well it dispenses. And it looks great. I love that it gives out just a small amount because I really don't use very much foundation, so I like that I can control how much comes out a lot more easily with this. Next up are my two favorite liquid blushes, and since this one has a doe foot, I think that I'm gonna put these into the lip gloss container because it's also really small, and just like the foundation, I do not need much of this. Now I'm gonna see if this syringe fits inside, and it does, which means I don't have to take out the stopper. So all I have to do is pull a little bit of the product into it, and then I can place that directly into the bottom of the lip gloss container. Now, sometimes product can get clogged at the top, which makes it a lot harder to fill. If that happens, you just have to kind of bang it on your hand to push the product down and get rid of any air bubbles that may be forming at the top and stopping it. But once you do that, it's very easy. The last thing you have to do is put this stopper back in the top, and this is when you'll know if you've overfilled it because the product will come gushing out of it. And then the last thing to do is to add my applicator and give it a try, and it's perfect. I love it. It's seriously so satisfying to see how much smaller this is, and this is gonna last me a while because I truly use very little of this blush when I do. Now this next one is more of like a paint container. It has a squeeze top, so I think that I'm just going to try to squeeze it directly into the container. And I have this toothpick in case there are any air bubbles so I can poke them out. And I'm just gonna do the same thing I did earlier and slap it onto my hand. I wasn't sure if this was gonna work, but it did work out well, thankfully. And once again, the final step is to place this topper inside and give it a little swipe. I did overfill this one a little bit, so I'm just gonna wipe off the excess product on the brush and then put the applicator back in. These are both fantastic, and even though both of these containers could fit within my liquids, I love that it's just so much smaller than the original size. This is one of those things where it's just so nice to have a smaller container because I've had these for years and I have not gone through them, so I really don't need this much for a trip, and a smaller container like this helps me save space so that I can bring whatever I want or just less. Moving on to my cuticle cream, and thankfully I just have to refill this, though this is the one that taught me that I do need to be careful when using these lip gloss containers because they are a little bit finicky. They get these air bubbles at the top and you have to really bang them on your hand to get the product to move down. Sometimes, like with products like this, it can be a little bit messy, so it is what it is. Now this one you've seen in my videos before. This is my face wash and it's in a 30 milliliter container from Muji, which is already pretty small compared to most travel items. But I realized I've taken this on so many trips and not even gone through half of it. So I can put this into a smaller container, which is what I've already done. This is a 10 milliliter, I believe, container, and I've been using this one in my bathroom already. So I'm just gonna squeeze out some more product from this larger one to refill it, and I'll keep doing so as my trips go on. And it's just like I said in the video earlier, as you take more trips with these small products, you realize just how little you need, and it makes it much easier to downsize into even smaller containers. Okay, I know you're gonna roll your eyes at me for this one, but I'm also going to be decanting my toothpaste, and this is because I'm really picky about toothpaste. I need some that doesn't have SLS in it because these surfactants make my gum peel, but I also don't like mint and I want fluoride. So this toothpaste fits all three things, and that's why I specifically wanna bring this instead of getting a travel size. Now, I could easily put this into a little pot like this and just dip my toothbrush into it every day. However, I got these containers from Matador. They're travel size toothpastes that are refillable, so we're gonna test those today. They have this little clamp on it. You just slide it off and then you can pop it open and put your toothpaste inside. And I promise there's nothing in it, that was just the instructions. I had some trouble filling this at first, so I put it inside a small glass and that helped it stand up while I filled the container. But similar to those lip gloss tubes earlier, the product kind of sticks to the sides. So I'm gonna put this to the side for now and then let all of the product fall to the bottom before I actually close it up and seal it. This is a new one for me. I decided this year that I'm gonna become a perfume person, so I grabbed a couple travel sizes from Sephora, but as you can see, this is one of my travel size containers that I bought, and it's just way bigger than you need. So I went on Amazon and I started looking for ones that are like these kind of samples you would get, and I found these, which are 2 milliliter perfume atomizers. Now, I really like this white perfume. I don't like the red one, so we're just gonna test it with the red one to see how it works. These don't have a traditional spritzer, so all I have to do is use some tweezers and kind of wedge them under the stopper so that I can take that out. Once that's out, I can use a pipette to grab some perfume and put it into my smaller container. Now, I know most perfumes don't have a stopper like this, so I have added a product to the description that allows you to dispense from a typical perfume style pump. And that's it. That was honestly really, really easy. I just love how small this is in comparison to the travel size bottle for this that you can get at, Sephora. I'm gonna give it a little spritz, see how fine it is before I decide if I want to fill the other one. And it looks really nice. I like it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the perfume I actually like. Once again, just wedging the tweezers under the stopper and using a pipette to fill the smaller container. And now I have my adorable little travel size perfume, and this would also be great if you wanted to bring multiple perfumes with you on your trip as well. I also want to make some updates to the travel makeup palette that I made in the past. As you can see, it's a little bit messy, so we need to take these out. I'm going to clean it up and then fix some of the ones that are broken. This is my blush that I put in there last time. It dried out, it's unusable, so I'm just going to toss that and then put everything else to the side so that I can give the inside a nice wipe and clean it out. For my contour, I'm going to sanitize this with some alcohol and give it a nice little wipe before I put it back in the container. I'm also gonna wipe down my highlighter, and then you can see this eyeshadow that I use as my eyeliner is a little bit broken, so you guys told me that I can spray alcohol on this and then lightly press it, which I'm just gonna use my contour container to do because it's about the same diameter. So I just pressed this a couple times and it's not perfect, but I think it looks better. Now that the alcohol on my contour has mostly dissolved, I'm just gonna give it a little wipe to remove any hairs because I have cats, so those tend to get everywhere. And I'm not using this for clients, this is just mine, so I don't really mind. And then putting that back into the container. My travel size blush has been sitting to the side on the candle warmer for a while, so I feel like the glue is probably melted. I'm just going to use a safety pin to wedge this out of the container because there's no hole on the back for me to push it out. And with a couple wedges, I'm able to get it out. And yeah, you can see where this big glue dot is. And this dot is very sticky. So we're going to come back to that later. But first, I want to work on this broken eyeshadow. When I made my initial video, this was cracked, and you guys were right, it did break because of that. So I just took all of those little extra bits and I'm gonna kind of break them up with this safety pin. I'm not breaking them into super small amounts, but I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just for me. Then I'm gonna soak it with some alcohol, and just like I did with the eyeliner, I'm gonna try to press this with my contour stick. Now, I'm not sure if I should have put some like saran wrap or something on here, but some of the, or even just let it dry longer, but some of the eyeshadow came back onto the contour stick. I tried my best to press this. I'm not totally a pro at this, but this is good enough for me. Let's look at this blush again, because this glue that's left on the back is super sticky. So I could probably just sit and try to get this off with some alcohol. However, I bought some magnetic stickers for this palette last year, and they're about the size of the glue dot. So I'm just going to attach one of these to the bottom of the pan to cover the glue dot before I put it back inside the palette. And now my travel makeup palette is nice and clean, looks fresh, and one thing I really love about this is you can just make it whatever you want. This toothpaste has been sitting to the side for a while, so it's all moved to the bottom. So now all I have to do is just kind of put this clip back on the top. I had a little difficulty with this at first, but once I got it on there, it was pretty easy to slide it across. And I am very interested to see how this works. If you're someone who likes, a traditional toothpaste type container, but you don't like the travel sizes that you can buy at the store, this might be a really good option. The last thing to do is label all of my items. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't always do this because some of the stuff I can just tell apart. I know that, foundation is not liquid blush, that's easy enough. But a few of these do look the same, especially like the 70% alcohol and the refresh spray. They're both clear liquids inside these spray bottles, so I do need to label some of these things. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, let's look at some before and after, because I am so pleased with how this turned out. So here are all of the full-size containers for the products that we used today, and here is how they look in their smaller mini toiletry containers. I am so freaking happy about this. From the deodorant to the foundation, my hairspray, my toothpaste, my freaking liquid blush and perfume. We have decanted so many things, and I just can't believe that with these tiny little containers, I'm able to bring so many different things inside a quart-size container. So like I said earlier, if you're wanting to travel lighter and you want to bring more products, or bring your same products in just a smaller amount of space, or you just need some stuff to throw in your gym bag or your purse and take to work, this is such a fun way to downsize all of those liquids and just make them easier to bring around. Because to be honest, you do not need those full-size travel containers, and this is really easy and simple to do. I would love to know what liquids you typically bring on trips and what you would do different from me, whether it's choosing different containers or different items to bring. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.